Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how I created this digital notebook template and some tips and tricks for digital notebooks. So let's get started. What you need to do first is, of course, open up a new slides presentation. Okay, so the first thing that you need to decide is what size you want your notebook to be. So, for example, a lot of people will come here to File, Page Setup, and then go to custom, and they'll make their page like an actual page, 8.5 by 11. Um, some people prefer a landscape. So if you want to do a landscape, you would do 11 by 8.5. And then it's, a paper turned on its side. I personally don't print my notebooks at all, so I prefer to just keep my setup at 16 by 9, so that it fits on the screen the most easily. But again, it really depends on what you plan on doing with the notebooks and how you want it to look. So for this example, I'm going to stick with the 16 by 9. So next, let's talk about the master view. I'm going to go ahead and name this example notebook. So to get to the master view, you need to go to view and then master. And basically what this is anything that you do in the master view cannot be edited on the actual slide. So when you give it to students, they can't move anything that you put on this master view around. Um, So I'm going to go ahead and delete these. The other thing that you can do is you can create lots of different layouts. So then it's really easy to just add a new page when the layout's already been created. So I'm going to start with the cover layout. So you can see in my example, I have a green composition notebook. And then also in this template, I have a blue, red, and yellow notebook as well, depending on what color you want for your cover. And then I have also included some that have a spot for a unit name. Personally, I don't do a notebook for the entire subject for the entire year. I prefer to do one per unit so that the file doesn't get too big. So that's what those are there for. So I think for this one, I'm going to go ahead and do a regular composition notebook cover. So I've just Googled composition notebook cover. And one thing that you might want to do is go to Tools, Color, Transparent. And what this is going to do is it's going to make sure that hopefully every picture, sometimes it doesn't work perfectly, but every picture has a background that's transparent. So if I were to click on it, you can see that the background turns into this little checkered pattern, and that means that it is transparent in the background. This one's kind of cute, but I think I want to do one that's an actual composition notebook. Another thing that you want to pay attention to is the size. If it's not a very big picture, it will be blurry when you put it into your notebook. So you can sometimes come up here and change the size to large. That doesn't always work perfectly, but yeah, sometimes it gets rid of a lot of options. So I'm going to come back here and let's see. I'm only taking the top half because of the size I chose, so it doesn't matter that that's at the bottom there. So I might use this one or this one. Well, let's try one and see what happens. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and choose copy image. And of course, if you are planning to sell this, then you want to make sure that the images that you're grabbing are images that can be sold. So this one looks like it is going to be a bit blurry. Maybe I'll try this drawn one. It's kind of cute. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so what I'm going to do to make it fit here is drag it so it's bigger. Still going to be a bit blurry, but at least for today's example, I'm going to use this. And let's see, I think I want it a little bit wider. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to crop this. And to crop it, you can either click this button up here or you can just double click on the image. And when you see these black lines appear, you know it's ready to be cropped. So I'm going to bring the edges up to the edge of the slide. Or sometimes that happens. Okay, let's try this. Come over here, that one to the edge. Okay, and when you're done, you can either hit enter or you can click this button again. All right, so now we've got our cover. So next, let's talk about tabs. You can see in this example that I did tabs that are a bit wider because I only needed 5. You can also do thinner tabs. So basically what you want to do is come over to the shape and then get the shape that has a flat side and then a rounded side. And let's see. I'll do an example that just has 3 tabs, but you could do more if you wanted. So I need to choose what color I want. So let's do this rosy color. And then the border I'm gonna make black, and I'm gonna make it size 2. Is that what I did over here? I don't even remember. Oh, I did no border on this one. Let's do that. Transparent. Okay, so what you then need to do is grab this little circle right here and turn it until you are at 90 degrees. And then overlap this tab with the cover just a little bit. We're going to put it behind it in a minute. I also like to add a shadow to make it look more realistic. So what you do to get the shadow is you go to Format Options, drop Shadow, and I'll automatically check it when you click that button. And I like to make the distance come out a little bit and then the angle a little bit to the bottom right corner. But you can play with that and see what you like. All right, and then of course on the tab, I do need a text box. So let's see. I'm gonna put page 1 for this example. And then I'm gonna use Control A to select everything and change my font. Let's do this font, that looks fun. I think I'll make the text white so it shows up better there. And now, just like we did with the shape that we made for our tab, we're going to do the same thing with our text box and turn it 90 degrees. And then we're going to make it fit our tab and go to this little box, this align box, and we're going to align it with the center and then also vertically with the center. And now I can make it a little bit bigger. I might make it bold too. And then let's see how big we can get. I don't want it too big. Let's go 25. Okay, so now I've got 1 tab and let's do 3 tabs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the text box by clicking on it, and then I'm going to hold down Shift and click the box behind it. That'll select both at once. Then I'm going to do Command or Control. If you're on a Mac, it's Command. If you're on Windows, it's Control. So Control D will duplicate whatever you have selected. And then I'll do it one more time, Control D, duplicate it. All right, so I'm noticing that this curves down a little bit because it's drawing. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold down Shift and select all of these again. And then I'm gonna move them in just a little bit by using my arrow key. I'm just gonna go in a smidge. Now, to get them behind the notebook, what you're gonna wanna do is you can either right click and go to order and send to back, or you can actually just use a shortcut on your keyboard. And that shortcut is, I gotta reselect these. Sometimes it's tricky when they're so close to each other. You can also click and drag. I will select it. So that shortcut is Command or Control, Shift, and then the down arrow will send it all the way to the back. If you just want to go one layer, you just do Command and then either up or down, and it will just go one layer. So this doesn't look perfect because it's drawing, but it's all right. I am noticing that my text goes down below, so I think I'm going to select these text boxes again, and I think I'm going to go a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to drag it up a little bit so that that text has to be above the notebook. And then, of course, you probably don't want your tabs to be the same color, so we'll come in here and we'll choose, I'm feeling a purpley teal theme, so I'll do some bubbles and let's do a teal. That's good. Okay, and then, of course, you'll name this whatever you want that section to be and name this whatever you want that section to be. All right. So we've covered covers, we've done tabs and layers and shadows. Let's see. Next, let's talk about, let's make some pages. So when you come over here, what you're going to do is just create a new slide. This is a new layout. And find a good page that you like. So I found this one. I searched inside notebook page and did transparent. And I think I like the look of that. So I'm going to right click, copy image, just like I did before. Control V is paste. And I'm going to make this. Hopefully it will work big. See what it looks like. Sometimes it's tricky. See a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and move it this way a little because I really want that to be, yeah, right at the edge like that. Okay, so it might be a bit blurry. It sometimes can take some time to find one that you really like. So I'm going to crop this so I can pull it over a little bit more, right at the edge there. And I don't really necessarily have time right now to find one that I really like, so I'm going to just make do with this one. I would make sure it looks how you want it. In fact, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to go copy the one that I already have over here because I really like this one. And I don't remember where I found it, so. All right. Now, you'll notice that this has lines on it and this one does not. That's because I decided I wanted some pages that didn't have lines. So what I did is I grabbed the same shape that we used for the tab and I made it white with no outline. And then, yeah, there we go. And then drag this over, drag that down. So now we've got a white background. Okay, pull this down a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so the next thing that I like to do is come over here, and again, I'm going to click and drag to get those tabs. Control C for copy, Control V for paste, and again, Command Shift down to send it backwards. Now we've got tabs on this page too. I noticed we have a page number here. I'm going to delete that real quick. I don't want that on there. Okay, so that's how you create a page. Now, one thing that you'll notice is what I've done is if I'm on the page that's, for example, the first tab, that tab sticks out and is a little bit bigger than the other tabs. So how you can do that is duplicate your basic layout. And now I'm going to create a layout that's specifically for this page. So I'm going to select this tab and use Command Shift up or Control Shift up this time to bring that a little bit higher. And then I'm going to make this text a little bit bigger so it stands out. And then I also like to do something fun with the background. So I'm going to right click, change background, or you can just come up here and click background. And I'm going to make it, you can do the same color as the tab if you want. Looks like that. You could make it a little bit lighter. It's really whatever you want to do. So let's see what's next. Pages, text boxes. So again, we're in the master view right now. So if I leave this master view, nobody can move any of these things that I've put on here. But maybe I want to have a place where students can enter a title. So what I'm going to do is, instead of doing a text box, I'm going to do a title placeholder. I like to put it in the middle of that page, and then the font, whatever font you choose, that will be the style when the students type it. I like to make it in the middle, drag that up a little bit. Maybe we'll make it bold. There we go. So now that will be there when we exit and we add this layout. If you click this little arrow, you can see the different layouts we've made. So if we add that layout, now this title placeholder is here and students can put their title. This will be page 1 for the page. Now you can, if you want something on that page that cannot be edited, you can add a text box. And this cannot be edited. Then choose whatever font you want. Do whatever you want with it. But when you exit, now students can't move that. They can't do anything with that. Whereas this one, because it was a placeholder, they can still move and do things with. And again, they can't do anything with those tabs either. Okay. So let's talk about links. Yeah. So you can see, for example, on this notebook, when I present, that if I click on the link, it brings me to the page. Okay, so here's how you do that. So I'm going to get a square, rectangle, and put it over my tab. Then I'm going to change the background to transparent, the outline to transparent. So if you're not touching it, you can't even tell it's there. And then I'm going to click on it and I'm going to do Control K, which adds a link. And I'm going to link it to slide 2. You can see that slide 2 actually has its title next to it because I did fill in that placeholder. So then it will appear here, which does make it easier when you're trying to link it to find the right page. So this now links to slide 2, which says page 1. So if I were to present and click here, it goes exactly to page 1. And you don't have to present to click the links. If I click the link and I'm not in presentation mode, I can then click on what appears below and it will take me to that link. So you can still use the links even if you're not in presentation mode. Okay, so we've covered links, we've covered text boxes. So that should give you a good overview of how to create your own notebook. So now I'm going to show you some activities that I've created I made a science digital notebook, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about how I created those. So the first thing is that I did, for each tab, I had multiple pages. So what I did on the first page for that tab is I created a table of contents. And this is actually the same way that we made the links over here. I first made a table and I filled in what the different pages were. And then I put that square or rectangle that is transparent on top of it. And that's what I linked to that specific page. So that's one way that you could do a table of contents. And when I made the table, what I did was I went to the outline, the border, and I turned it transparent so you couldn't tell it was a table. You could still keep those lines on there if you want. I prefer not having them on there. Okay, so let's look at some activities. One of the most common activities is sorting. So for this page, what I did is I created, let's look at the master. I created, take me a minute, I got a lot of masters on here. accidentally deleted that one when I made it. Okay, that's fine. When I made the master, what I did is I created, oh, I didn't do this on the master. That's right, because I started doing that on the later pages. Okay, so I'm probably gonna go back and fix that. Let me show you on a later page what I do. So like on this page, you can see that you can't actually move the text down here. So the way that I did that is I went to the master and I created that text box in the master. And then I also made this box in the master because I didn't want them to be able to move that or this note or the sticky notes um, or the link to the virtual lab. So all of this is already in here. But then I did add text boxes I used the subtitle one this time instead of the title. And that's a place where students can actually type. So when we look at the slide itself, now students could type in this box. And then for the blanks, I actually just put a text box on top of the blank, made sure it was the right size, made sure it would fit the word and everything. And then I put a question mark inside of it so that students can just type right there. So then I made some drag and drop little words here. So this is thermal insulators and conductors. So they're supposed to drag styrofoam's an insulator, wood's an insulator, metal's a conductor, glass is an insulator. Plastic is an insulator, and glass is a conductor. So it's a little drag and drop activity. And how I did those is I actually made text boxes first. So a little text box example. And then I changed the background to be a color, changed the outline to be a color. And then I used my screenshotting tool to actually screenshot that text box. And then I inserted it as an image. So the reason that I did that is that for some students, when they go to grab and drag a text box, they don't grab it from the edges. They'll try to grab it from the middle, and then they end up, in the actual typing portion, or they might accidentally grab it from the side, and then they've made it huge, which can still happen with a picture, but it's a little less likely because with a picture, they can just grab it in the middle and drag. Whereas with a text box, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay. So again, some of the activities are drag and drop. For this one, I wanted pictures that did not have a background. And again, how you do that is you go to Tools and then choose Transparent, and then you'll get images that do not have a background, which makes for better activities. This one was another sort where I did the same thing I did images instead of text boxes. Here I have a notes page. So again, in the master is where all of these pieces are actually editable. I've got circles with text inside of them, lines leading, from the middle to the edge. But then I put in the subtitle boxes again so that students can type in those boxes, but they cannot move anything else. They can't move around the graphic organizer and mess it up. So we've got sorting, we've got notes and graphic organizers. Another one is matching. I like to use a table so that it's a little bit easier to see where things are supposed to go. So in this one, they're supposed to match the tool with its name and match the property of matter that's used to measure. So graduated cylinder is here. It's used to measure volume. So it's a little matching activity. And to insert a table, all you need to do is go to Insert Table and then choose how many columns, how many rows. You can change that afterwards. And again, I put the table and the pieces in the master view so that they can't be moved. Anything you want the students to drag and drop cannot be done in the master view because then they won't be able to move it. So that needs to be done on the actual slide itself. Some fun things that you can also do with digital notebooks is drawings, giving students the pieces for diagrams or drawings. So for example, on the states of matter, what I have done here is I've copied and pasted or duplicated a circle many, many times. And then I have a spot where students can actually build what the solid, liquid, and gas molecules look like. And it's almost as if they have a never ending amount of circles, but really, there's probably just like 50 circles or so there. And how I did this is when I created the initial circle, I'll do it right here. I did that Control D to duplicate it, and I duplicated it a bunch of times. And then after I had duplicated it, when you select them all, if you right click, you can choose align horizontally left, and then right click. And sometimes that happens because I just put it on there. And then right click, align vertically top. And now they're in a nice, neat little pile, and they're all still selected. So you just move it, and you can move your pile wherever you want. If you accidentally click off of your pile, it's okay. All you have to do is click and drag, and anything that you put your mouse over will be selected. So, of course, if you do it over the whole thing, now you're selecting too much stuff. But if you just do that little part, and then you have that selected now. And then I also did a similar thing with the checks and X's. So solid has a definite shape, definite volume. A liquid has a definite volume, but not a definite shape. And a gas it does not have a definite shape and does not have a definite volume. So you can see that I had the right amount of X's and checks already there on the side for students to drag over. And then this is all part of a text box that I actually just put the text box not in the master but here so that students could add on to it. Okay. Let's see. Here's another sort. This time I have a little background to put it on. You can embed YouTube videos. All you have to do is go to insert video and put the link right here, and then they're embedded. Another cool thing you can do with videos, if you don't want students to watch the whole thing, you only want them to watch a part, when you go to format options, you can actually select when you want the video to start and when you want the video to end. This links to some virtual labs. So when they click it, it takes them to a place where they can virtually use the triple beam balance. And then I have already set up here a place to add what the steps are for reading a triple beam balance. Yeah. Graduated cylinder is pretty similar. This time I have some blanks instead, fill in the blank. We've got another sort with a link to another virtual lab. We already looked at this page. We've got another sort and another virtual lab. This page has a lot of blanks, and there was a specific part of the video that they needed to use to answer these questions. So I just screenshotted that part of the video and put it in below so that they had that here and didn't have to, keep the video open in one spot and, that kind of thing. You may be wondering how I get these sticky notes. I do the same thing here. I just make sure it's on transparent and then search sticky note. And there's lots and lots of different options. And then I just put a text box on top of it. So in this one, I put the question in the master so it can't be moved, as well as the sticky note. And then I put the little subtitle box so students can answer. Another fun thing is these sticky notes are tilted. So on the text box, instead of leaving it straight up and down, I used this blue circle again to rotate it so that it matched the same tilt as the sticky note. Here's another example of a fun little diagram. So it says use the objects to build a diagram of the results of the experiment. So students can drag the glasses of water. They can show that if this is fresh water and this is salt water, that on the fresh water, the egg sinks, and on the salt water, it floats. And then we've got our arrows to show floating and sinking. So a quick little diagram to test a little bit of if they understand which one made the egg float and which one made the egg sink. And then over here, they're talking about what they noticed during the experiment and their thoughts about why what happened, and then some comparison statements. So this kind of thing is really nice, especially if you're doing distance learning and you can't do experiments, or even if you're in class and you have to be, everybody has to be 6 feet apart. then you can do experiments. Not, of course, not as good as actual experiments, but closer. So for mixtures and solutions, I have another table of contents. And then I have another sort. For this sort, I decided to do the graphic organizer with the mixtures section inside the solution section because I think it's really important that they understand that a solution is a type of mixture and it's included in that graphic organizer. This kind of thing comes up a lot in math with like classifying 2D shapes. So it's nice to have a similar graphic organizer that they see in science as well. So in this one, I actually didn't title the mixtures and solutions because I wanted that to be a conversation about, well, which one is, the bigger circle and which one is within it. So there's a place here for them to put mixtures, solutions. And then, of course, they can drag, fruit salad's a mixture, soda's a solution, et cetera, et cetera. And again, for these, I did that transparent background so that it would look a little bit nicer putting it on the sorting. So we've got another little matching, types of physical changes, another matching for tools to separate mixtures. And then I did a couple quick writes at the end of explain how to separate a mixture of salt, pepper, and iron filings and gravel, sand, salt, and water. And then the very last thing that I have is I did a glossary at the end. And for this one, I went ahead and put in the words, put them in alphabetical order. But I put in that master view, I put subtitle text boxes. So while students can't edit these words, they can just click, today we learned about mixtures. So they can come here and click and put the definition for a mixture. So those are just a few examples of the things that you can do with interactive notebooks. So I hope this helps you kind of get started, and let me know if you have any questions. And I'm going to go ahead and put this template up for you to use and make it your own. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll be making more of these notebooks. So if you like the way that I put this together, my plan is to make some more science, some math, and then maybe even social studies and ELA, depending. So, yep. Thanks, guys.